Hey everybody, and a warm welcome to a new story. Today's story is called 10 Years Ago I Survived an Airplane Crash. What I saw there scarred me for the rest of my life. Day 4 final. From the Reddit NOSLEEP subreddit. I hope you like it and will enjoy the time. If you like my content and this kind of videos, please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. As always, this story is told from the original writer's point of view. The link is down below in the description. Enjoy it. I woke up with a throbbing head. It was pitch black in front of me, and as I felt my way around the ground with my hands, I felt pebbles and rocks shifting and sliding. I no longer had my torch, however the flare gun was still in my pocket. The screams that followed me previously were gone now, leaving me only with the sound of my own heavy panting. I didn't dare call out to my fellow survivors under fear of attracting something far worse. I still had my backpack on, so I reached into it and felt around until I found the lighter. I steadied myself on the pebbles that kept sliding from underneath me and flicked it once. Immediately the flame sparked to life. I gasped in terror at the sight before me. Those weren't pebbles, but human bones. Hundreds, no thousands of them in one big pile, covered in dry blood and dirt. I screamed and fell backwards, the light on my lighter disappearing instantly. I scooted back until my back hit the wall, hyperventilating. I flicked the lighter once more as soon as I was calmer and observed my surroundings. Bones were everywhere and I saw no way out, but there had to be one. I stood up and unsteadily walked across the giant tomb, balancing myself on both legs and one hand, while holding the lighter with the other. The cave seemed to lead forward, so I followed the only remaining passage, hoping it wouldn't end with a dead end. There was a crack in the wall ahead, big enough for me to go through, and I heard the sound of water somewhere in the distance. With rekindled hope, I followed the sound, cursing myself for allowing to get into this situation. I wondered where Linda, Will and Mitch were. But I was too preoccupied with claustrophobia and fear of being eaten alive to worry too much about them. And then I felt myself step into a puddle of water. I illuminated the ground and realized I was standing in a creek, which led to a tiny area contrasting the pitch darkness all around me. I hurried up, splashing my way through and breathing so loudly that my voice echoed throughout the cave. But then I remembered that I should probably be more quiet. The sound of water was getting louder, and when I finally reached the semi-illuminated part of the cave, I was in a more open area, with a crack on the ceiling, letting in a faint beam of moonlight. I thanked God for getting me out of the narrow tunnels, but my relief was short-lived when I heard a crunch echo from my left. I turned my head to the source of the sound slowly and saw movement in the distance. As my eyes adjusted, I saw a black figure hunched over, facing away from me. My heart started to race because I realized there was no way that sort of shape could be one belonging to a human being. It was eating something, and I dread to think what its meal was. I immediately flicked my lighter off, and as I stood there, frozen in place, I looked around and realized that the only way out was in the direction of the creature. At first I thought there's no f***ing way I'd try to get past it. But then I remembered the only other way was to go back to the lair filled with bones. I mustered my courage, put the flare gun into my hand and slowly began towards the opening where the creature was. With each crunch it made, my heart jumped just a little bit. As I got closer, the creature came into view a lot more clearly. Although it was hunched over and squatting, it was still pretty huge, almost as tall as I was. It had mangy black fur all over its body, the shape of which was somewhat humanoid. Another loud crunch, followed by a chewing sound. The creature tossed a bone sideways in a bemused way, which fell down with a loud clunk, and started chewing on something else. I was only a few feet away from it now and slowly took steps sideways, not daring to look away. And then I saw what, or rather who, it was eating. Linda's eyes stared back at me blankly as the creature gnawed on what was left of her leg. I clasped my mouth with my hands to stop myself from screaming and continued sidestepping. The creature suddenly stopped chewing and shot its head up, sniffing the air. I stopped moving and held my breath, my heart just about ready to burst out of my chest. The creature continued sniffing more vigorously, now swiveling its head left and right. I could just barely make out a nose which resembled a snout, covered in the same fur as the rest of its body. The creature stood frozen for a long moment, listening. I pointed the flare gun at it with trembling hands, ready to pull the trigger. The creature looked back down and continued eating. I lowered my gun and continued stepping away. I was able to put myself at a safe distance to speed up a little bit and sighed in relief when I turned the corner. I leaned on my knees and steadied my breathing, my heart still pounding in my chest. And then I felt something grab my shoulder and I just about jumped out of my skin. It was Mitch. He was holding his finger up to his mouth in a way to tell me to be quiet. I leaned in and whispered, "Where the FCK did you guys run off to? Where's Will? I lost him." Mitch said, "We were attacked right after we found Amber and..." "You found her?" Mitch shushed me and said, "Keep your damn voice down." "Yeah, we found her. What was left of her anyway? She was missing her foot and her arm all the way to the shoulder socket. Poor girl was begging us to end her." "You killed her?" I asked. "I had to. She couldn't move, was in a lot of pain and there was no way she'd survive. Will and I both agreed to do it. Listen, right now we have to find Will and Morton if they're still alive," I suggested. "No way. We gotta get out of here," Mitch said. "That thing is FC King invincible. We'll manage to chase it away with the torch, but it's too damn fast and always comes back. I'm not leaving them behind," I said. Mitch stared at me for a while, before saying, "Fine, let's look for them. Where's the flare gun you picked up?" "Right here." I raised my hand. "Keep it close." We went through the cave and luckily Mitch had his flashlight, so it was a lot more convenient than going with a lighter. The cave was practically a maze and after what felt like hours, we agreed that finding an exit should be our priority. We had just about given up hope when we heard something that sounded like footsteps in the distance. Moreover, it sounded like boots or shoes, which rekindled our hope that it might be Will. I peeked around the corner and saw a person standing in the middle of the cave, pointing his flashlight around. "Will," I whispered. He turned around, his eyes wide in fear, until he recognized us and relief washed over his face. He smiled and we went out to meet him. "Thank goodness you're alive," Will said. "I've been trying to." Will's sentence was cut off when a big black figure ran past right in front of our noses and took Will along with it. Will screamed as the creature held his neck with its teeth and rapidly jerked him left and right. Mitch ran up to the creature and swung his hatchet hard, embedding it in the creature's back. The creature let go of Will's neck, which was now at an unnatural angle, and screamed in pain. The entire cave echoed and my ears started to hurt. Before Mitch could pull the axe out, the creature turned around, grabbing at its back, unable to reach the axe. It then turned its attention to Mitch and with movement faster than the blink of an eye swiped its claws across the air. I didn't even realize what happened until I saw Mitch bleeding from his throat and grabbing at his neck. The creature screamed again, revealing a row of sharp teeth. It tackled Mitch and sank its teeth into his neck, biting off a chunk of it and a few of his fingers in the process. All of this happened so fast that I barely had time to react, plus the whole thing put me in a trance. And then the creature looked up at me with glowing eyes, snarling, blood dripping from its chin. I pointed the flare gun at the creature and fired. The entire area was immediately illuminated with a bright red color. And the creature screamed even louder, grabbing at its eye which had now lost its glow, flailing its arms furiously. I glanced at the bodies of my fellow passengers. Both of them were dead. I turned on my heel and bolted out of there, the screams of that creature following me all the way through the cave. I ran for what felt like hours, tired, but never stopping. The thought of meeting my demise like the rest of them did filled me with inexplicable fear. After a while, I finally saw moonlight peeking from a crack in the distance and hurried up to it. I felt a cold breeze as I got closer and squeezed my way through, breathing in fresh air and listening to the soothing sounds of the forest life around me. The scream of the creature echoed from inside the cave once more. This time sounding like a cry of pure anger, and although it was distant, I knew it could change any moment. I stumbled through the woods, always looking over my shoulder and expecting to see the creature either behind or suddenly appearing in front of me. Daylight came soon and I fell to the ground, exhausted, hungry and thirsty. The adrenaline subsided and I started to feel guilty and ashamed for allowing the other passengers to die like that. I broke down, rocking back and forth and letting my guilt gnaw at me like that for a while. And then I heard something in the distance. Voices. I couldn't tell what they were saying, but when I looked up, I saw a group of people walking around. I called out to them and they immediately approached me, realizing I was in distress. I tried explaining to them that there's a dangerous predator nearby, but they didn't seem to understand what I was saying. They spoke to me, but I didn't understand their language. I figured they were locals and cried again in happiness when I realized I was safe. And that's how I was brought back to civilization. I told the rescue services that going back to the crash site is dangerous, but they ignored me. They dismissed my stories as exaggeration due to trauma and continued their search. Not even 2 days later, the case was closed and a statement made that there were no survivors. Norton's body was never found, but then again they never found the cave I mentioned, either. I've been plagued by survivor's guilt, nightmares and PTSD ever since. I'd wake up, thinking I feel a presence in my room, quietly watching me and waiting for the moment when I let my guard down. I never go camping and have never used planes again, either. Except once, 2 days ago. I'm in a small town right now, close to the crash site. The locals here are friendly, but when I ask them about the creature, they suddenly go silent or find an excuse to leave. Others swear the creature I'm describing is peaceful and that running into it poses no threat. The third portion denies the creature's existence altogether, calling me crazy. All locals share one opinion, though: no one should go to the area of the sightings. I don't know what that thing is and I don't care. I have a gun over here and tomorrow I'm going back to the crash site. One way or another, I'm taking that creature down. If you liked the story and the content, please leave a like, subscribe and share this video. Also have a look into my playlist for more entertaining stories. Thank you and have a nice day.